Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another TERA Dungeon Guide with me, Meoni, of AceGamesTV. Today I'm in Saleron's Sky Garden. This is a level 53 to 56 instance. A picturesque dungeon to say the least here, and one of the most beautiful in the game in my opinion, and certainly one of my favourite. This dungeon is split into 4 platforms of boss encounters and 7 individual platforms between them. Each platform has its own test or trial to pass to the next. I'm with my new guild, United Purpurea here. This is a full guild run, so we're going to walk you through this beautiful area and show you how to handle all of the aspects of this dungeon. Firstly, there are 3 crystals prior to each boss platform. Once broken, they award buffs to everyone 5 meters away from the breaking of the crystal. The green crystal on the left awards 30% extra HP, the yellow crystal on the right awards 30% extra skill damage, and the purple crystal in the back awards 30% extra mana. These buffs only last 2 minutes, so work out who's getting what in your party, acquire these buffs, and move to the boss quickly to make the most out of them. On every platform there is a crystal in the center of the room. This crystal, once broken, starts the particular event or encounter on that platform. On platform 1, you break the crystal, which spawns a few small adds in the room. Gather these up and AoE them down. This one is not particularly challenging, but shows you the sort of thing to expect on the next few platforms. Moving on to the second platform, this is the first boss fight you will encounter here. Now, depending on how many times you run this, you will end up with a different boss each time, probably. And it's a boss from the past in other previous dungeons or encounters. Here we had the pleasure of fighting Karasha again from the Dark Revelations quest on the Island of Dawn. Very simple fight. Nothing really has changed, but the scaling of HP, damage and the duration of a fight has increased. Other than staying away from his jumps, face attacks and fireballs, just nuke this guy down. The other encounters you can get are simply exactly the same as they used to be anyway, just obviously with the increased HP, probably a bit more damage, and the fights are longer. So simply apply the same tactics to the fights and you should have no problems whatsoever here, at all. Platform 3 is a stealth platform. In that I mean that the mobs need to be avoided. Simply wait for the mobs to patrol east and then walk past them. Don't auto run into them or engage them, it's a massive waste of time and they hit like a truck. On platform 4, this platform has a crystal in the center, like all of the others. Once this crystal is broken, it will spawn a lot of mobs. However, one of these mobs has a name, only one of them, and he is named Trusork. You only need to kill this guy, and as such you want the rest of the mobs to be kited around the room. The tank and the healer can kite these mobs around the room whilst the DPS destroy this ad, which always, by the way, spawns on the north side of the platform, so you can camp that out straight after you've destroyed the crystal. The fight only really becomes a problem if all of these mobs are in one group. They hit like a truck and as such need to be kited, so find a way to separate your target from the pack and you will be fine here. Platform 5 here is your second boss encounter of the dungeon. This guy is Barrel Cool. As you can see, he is a giant and as such carries the familiar mechanics of ice giants and other giants in the world of TERA. Those are sweeping attacks in front of him, a nasty charge, a devastating melee attack followed by a flurry. For this reason, standing behind the boss, moving from his face or direction he is facing, is key to survival in this fight. The free combo attack in front of him and that charge are pretty much the only dangerous things to consider in this boss's perspective. The hard part of this fight is when he hits 20% health. At this percentage of health he spawns 2 large basilisks which you want to ignore as best you can or use crowd control on them, sleeps etc. So you can burn down the leftover health of the boss. Kiting also works, yet the health can easily burn off before either of the basilisks become a major problem in the fight. There is one major problem with using crowd control however on this fight, as he has an emote which says "Come my pets," which funnily enough calls the basilisk to him and breaks any CC you've put on them at all. So in many ways it's easier just to burn him down, avoid the ads the best you can, and if you have aggro on one, take it out of the group and let the others burn the boss. If you have a great Lancer however, and a good healer, like we do, you can tank all 3 on the Lancer and burn the boss straight down. Platform 6 is again a kill the named mob and separate the ads from it test. The only difference here is the type of mob, and that this named mob this time is coloured red. Nuke this red mob, ignore and kite the rest via your tank, and it's easy mode. The rest despawn once the red mob is dead. Once you've killed this guy, you can move on to platform 7. Platform 7 is a little bit different. In this trial, a crystal will spawn in the centre of the room. The aim is to destroy this crystal pillar here as soon as you can. Add spawn around the room and keep spawning until this crystal is DPS down. So obviously you need to keep the mobs away from the people DPSing the crystal, keep aggro on these little ads, kite them around, and DPS this crystal down as soon as possible to prevent yourself from becoming overwhelmed. So here we are on platform 8, and this is your next boss. He looks kind of difficult, however this dragon Zelvictus is kind of easy once you know what you're doing. He has a moveset similar to some of the dragons you may encounter previously, maybe from Sigil and Stringo. If not, I'll show you what he does. The first thing to avoid here is a conal fire breath that he does 120 degrees in a cone in front of him. This applies a horrible damage over time debuff and a slow debuff to you, so you need to avoid this at all costs, and if preference, DPS him from the sides or behind and avoid the face. When the boss says down dogs in a large emote in the centre of your screen, he'll decide to spin on the spot and do a tailspin. This is probably the most deadly part of the fight in my opinion, as many people get caught out by this and don't expect the amount of damage it does deliver. This can be interrupted via a stun however, so be sure to either avoid this and move out, or remove it entirely from the picture with a well-timed shield bash or another stun that you have available. The most powerful of his attacks here does around 75% damage to you and gives you that slow down debuff from before if you do get hit. This is easily seen when the boss lifts spikes into the air in a circle and then slams them down around him into the ground, in 4 areas diagonally from his body. This can be easily outranged if you're a ranged class, so just stay back. Keep in mind all of these elements of the fight and you should have no problems at all here, and you'll be ready to move on to platform 9. So platform 9 here is another stealth platform. You just need to run past these patrolling mobs when they're not looking at you. Don't get seen, don't engage them in combat, just sneak past them onto platform 10, which is another trial to pass. You break the crystal in the centre of a room and 4 laser cannons will spawn around the room. You'll need to stand in the centre of the room to avoid these. 2 ads also spawn once the crystal is broken in the centre. These need to die as soon as possible and are your main targets. You need to avoid the beams at the sides, don't get hit by the mobs you're killing, and burn them down as quickly as you can. The reason that you need to make haste in this fight is because more ads will spawn over time, so you need to kill these 2 in the centre to finish the trial as quickly as possible to avoid getting overrun. So here we are on platform 11, we have the final boss of the instance. That's in air quotation marks, simply because once the boss hits 50% health, he spawns this little ad. Once you kill this quickly, he has a chance of dropping a key that if one of your members receives, unlocks a lock at the end of this boss fight which takes you to a secret platform off to the east, gives you an achievement, and gives you an extra boss fight with extra loot. But officially this is the last boss, and this is Merkelseer. Not exactly a hard boss per se, but is more of a DPS race, as a room fills around the sides with laser cannons. The faster the boss dies, the less cannons there are, the slower he dies, the more there is to avoid. His first move is a ground pound attack, but if it hits you will cause significant damage to you, and also provide you with a horrible damage over time debuff, which needs to be cleansed as soon as possible if you do get hit. His second attack is a long-range fireball on the target with the highest threat, so obviously your Lancer should be getting hit by this, well, should be blocking this easily, and no one else should really be having this at all. His third ability is when he hovers in the air. For a few seconds, he places 3 red circles on the floor in front of him. These obviously need to be avoided, as all red circles do in this game, as they will damage you significantly from something so easily avoided for quite a lot of HP, and can easily kill you if you're low to begin with. And his last major ability is a burrow attack. This goes in a random direction from where he burrows, at which point he pops up and does damage to anyone there. And once again this hurts and applies the same slowdown, damage over time debuff to you, so you need to avoid it as best you can. That's really all there is to this boss, and as such this instance is not exactly difficult at all, yet there are some things that I feel people need to know about, and that's exactly what these guides are for. Now, since I mentioned the possibility of that key dropping from that little mob, Well, in our group, one of us did manage to acquire such a key, and we placed it into this lock here. This is acquired from killing that mob that you may have missed during the fight, but spawns around 50% of the previous boss's health, which can drop a key. Once you put it in the lock at the right side of the room after the fight, it puts you over here with this fella. This is Lagnerus. Be warned, if you don't have very long to do this dungeon, simply do not queue for it, as this guy alone is an endurance race. I say this because he has more HP than the other bosses combined, hits hard, and can wear you out with the length of the time that you spend on him, and can cause silly wipes. However, he can drop the best loot in here, awards an awesome achievement called the Secret Garden, and is a lot of fun in my opinion, so definitely one not to miss if you can help it. So, I'll be cutting a lot out of this fight, obviously because of the length of it. We don't want a 20-minute video, as it goes for a very long time, but here, in short, is how you kill him and get your rewards. Lagnerus has typical dragon moves that you may be familiar with from some of the higher level quest zones dragon mobs. In fact, there is very little at all different, other than an increase in damage from those abilities and his ridiculous HP pool. Avoid his face, as there is a 120 degree cleave, 120 degree fire blast, but will both like to kill you. Avoid his tail, as he can hit very hard with it, and DPS from the sides or diagonal back if possible. The biggest killer in this encounter is his fly move. Occasionally he will fly off into the air and circle the platform, then he will dive bomb an area and land into someone. This does devastating amounts of damage, and if you see this guy possibly landing near you, you need to run away as soon as you can to avoid this potential wipe mechanic. As mentioned, this fight can go on for at least 10 minutes. It's a war of attrition, and as such your healer needs to maintain her mana pool as best as possible. So try to reduce the amount of damage you take, and avoid as much that is avoidable as possible to reduce the likelihood of ooming before the fight's over. If you outlast this boss and don't get too sloppy from repetition, you will receive some rather cool loot off this boss, be awarded with a title and achievement for the kill. I believe the title is Secret Agent, which is pretty damn cool, and the achievement is the Secret Garden. So, there you go, you've cleared Salerian Sky Garden. I hope this guide has been of some use to you. I was requested to make this video. If you like the rest of my videos, or you don't know I've made other videos, you can be sure to check those out on AceGamesTV from the drop down above. I've done lots of dungeons. I think I've done nearly all of them. I've only missed one out so far. I intend to do them all, and that's what these video guide series is going to be. I'm going to do all of the dungeons, and then hopefully some of the Nexus stuff, and whatever else unlocks in the game. So yeah, I hope it's been of some use, and if you have indeed liked this, be sure to leave a like below and subscribe above for more videos like this one weekly, and many more exciting coverage of other games. We have a lot of really good directors making brilliant games weekly. I have been Meoni of AceGamesTV, and I will see you next time.